transparency in education, that from time to time we keep on to update ourselves. Also in these technological years. I know all of you, most of you are professional teachers. You are the ones who are being in the proper position to teach us, tell us. But we want to listen to one or two questions today. The workshop will be a continuous thing. It's not going to be the first and the last. I want to thank the bishop for giving us the permission to organize the workshop. And actually know this. The bishop is coming. He will do the formal opening of the workshop. We will play the logo wherever he comes. The other very important assignment is attending to now. So we have to begin. Time. The title for this workshop is Fostering Effective Curriculum Implementation and Innovation in Different Schools. That's the that will tell you a lot. And for those of us who have been involved in teaching, and we know what that means. So they implement curriculum. The other time during the retreat, there's now annual lady retreat, where I address the Diocesan retreatants. They accuse us that we were not following curriculum. But I wonder who have followed curriculum better. Our students do very well in school, they follow examinations. That means we are following curriculum. Maybe they don't understand. But we need to update ourselves. Okay, there are some who are not following the curriculum. And we are given a specialist in science education. When it comes time, we will be duly introduced to you. He is capable. When I came before today, I'm not in education, I'm in clinical studies. Even though I attended some courses in the education during my university years, but I never took exams in education. But I attended lecture. I have written out what I wanted to say, but I just discovered that if I begin to read, I'll seem like an armchair teacher. So it's very possible to write a very effective, very communicable essay to people. But when you are not a teacher, I also want to, in case by the time I finish, Dr. will begin to ask me questions, and I will be in trouble. So I keep my speech. I will let Dr. Go speak to all and tell us exactly what he wants to do, what he wants us to do. Maybe by the time he finishes, and we are not exhausted, we ask Sister Rose in Nukon, the principal of Holy Child College, to bring us, if not today, but she will give her time. And what we intend to do in the Diocese is from time to time we let the school to come and direct the workshop. If they choose the topic, they come and give it to all of us. Next time we go different, as you can take a topic and let the men to the growth of the educational system in the United come and help all of us. Thereafter we ask the Holy Child or Notre Dame or Stella Maris to come and address us. We all take time. We have an opportunity to come and tell us and share ideas. So I don't think I need to waste a time or to spend so much time, but I want to welcome all of us. I'm very happy that these numbers can come today. I did not expect a very big number, because this is the first thing, and it is very difficult now these days of COVID-19. So I want to implore all of us to be attentive, to be patient with us, to bear with us. There are some tasks that you will find, bear with us. We are just beginning. I just 2 months ago. So I'm trying to learn. So bear with our asses. Maybe in the future we will learn more. And I want to pray before COVID-19 protocol. Please cover your face. I know it's very difficult, very inconvenient. Make sure when you cover your face, I'm not asking you to go. And I ask Almighty God to thank all of you for the trouble you are taking to come here. And God will bless you. And we are going to spend time. We are not going to hurry. We will spend time to do it. I would now invite Parliament to come and introduce our facilitator to all of us. Then we can begin properly.
Please, distinguished teachers, let us give our chairman a round of applause. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Prof. My job is very well defined. We gathered here for a very important interactive workshop organized by DEC, and it's on education. To the greater glory of God, Ikot Ekpene Diocese is rich, especially in human resources. I'm sure while the DEC was thinking of this workshop and the seminar, there was need to look for a specialist. To the greater glory of God, they didn't need to go outside. We didn't need to go outside. We looked within and we found two people who are really qualified. I'm here to introduce one of them, the main facilitator. This man that I'm bringing up is our own, the distinguished scholar and educationist, one who has been in different institutions of learning, from nursery to secondary to tertiary, and is still in service. It's my delight to welcome on our behalf the immediate past provost, one-time provost of the College of Education, is currently the Dean, Faculty of Education in Akwa State University, the Fellow, Science Teachers Association of Nigeria, is a member, Nigerian Academy of Education, is a member, Nigerian Institute of Management. The good boy, I would say most importantly, is a Catholic, and is the chairman of one of our parishes. He's been around most of our educational institutions. For example, his family compound is directly opposite Queen of Seminary. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Patrick Joseph Uko, round of applause for Dr. Thank you very much. We should have the man who will facilitate, who will be the main facilitator of Dr. Uko. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. His Lordship, the Bishop of the Diocese, ably represented by the Chairman of the Catholic Education Committee, Professor Benson, other members of the Diocesan Education Committee, Reverend Fathers, Reverend Sisters, supporting staff at this workshop, distinguished attendees, and our valuable teachers of the diocese, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's my delight to be here. It's an opportunity for being singled out to be a facilitator at this workshop, which I consider is very, very important for the growth of the diocese, for the growth of our state, and for the growth of our country. It's going to be an interactive workshop, interactive in the sense that we are not going to sit on the chair or move around. Before we proceed, there are some advance organizers, our former peace. The advance organizers will empower us, will motivate us, will ginger us, will help us to understand what is before us. That's why we call the advance organizers, just to prepare us for something that is coming. So these are the advance organizers. There are different secondary schools within the state that are generally claimed to be good schools. It's a question. It must be responded to. And I would like to take answers from our attendees. I want somebody to mention some of the schools you believe are created impact and are claimed to be good schools. Yes, volunteers. Somebody has mentioned Dr. Evangelization, Queen of the Apostles Seminar, their father. And that, okay, let me hear. That cannot be the only school. Yes? St. Colorado Secondary School, Ikot. Notre Dame Girls Secondary School, Udrai. The greatest of the century. Okay. I think we can stop it. These are some of the schools claimed to be in the top 10 in this state. Now, the next question is, what makes these schools to be described as being so? Why do we think these schools are good? Please say something.
We think that they are good because we produce most of our lecturers in different higher institutions, and through what they have done, their teachings, their methods, and what they have organized, make us to claim that those schools are important and good.
Thank you so very much. So mention of what she said is that by their products, we know them. The products of these schools are high flyers. They have produced lecturers. They have produced top-ranking individuals in the country. Let me hear the opinion of some other people. Yes? What else makes these schools very good? They can impact a lot on students. Impact what? Perhaps knowledge, values, and good attitudes. You know, good moral values, etc., etc. Has anybody different opinion? What does this schools do? Let me come to this other way.
What makes the school to be good is because of the method that they use in their teaching, and also all what they make the students to be to represent the nation as a whole, not only on academics but also in other fields like spirituality, like in moral, as well as in other activities.
Thank you very much. She has said so many things. Methods of teaching, which is an issue, which is a component of the curriculum. Methods of teaching. These schools, they adopt very good methods of teaching, and they also look at the spiritual aspect of the people. All these are components of the curriculum that we want to look at. Okay, the next very important question is, would you want your school to be listed among the good schools of course? A big yes. I don't think there will be any dissenting voice. A big yes. every year. Everybody will want their school to be listed among the good schools. After before their school is listed, some sacrifices must be made. Past sacrifices, sometimes you don't return A. Sometimes you have to prepare for the next task. You know, so much must be imputed into the school curriculum for the products to be seen as being good, and of course, is the product that represents the school. Now, there is a very key question here. What is the implication of having many good secondary schools around us? Assuming we have many secondary schools, but most of them are bad. Now, we've listed the top schools in our diocese. What is the implication?
Thank you. We said the implication of having many good schools around. Number one is to fight for the main challenges that we are having. Because together, if we have many good schools, that would outshine the few bad ones. Then the good one will top the list.
Okay, we thank you. We need varieties of opinion. If what do we start with the right?
Thank you, sir. When we have good schools around us, we expect high quality, high productivity among us.
Okay, I think that is enough. High productivity. The quality of our products will be very good, resulting in high productivity. And of course, there is a very strong correlation between the quality of education and the socio-economic development of the nation, the advancement of the nation. So if we have so many good schools, the quality of life will improve based on what has been done to the learners. The first question is bringing at us. Who is a teacher? All of us here, or many of us here, are expected to be teachers. But who is a teacher? I want somebody to answer that question. Who is a teacher?
A teacher is a person who helps the students to acquire knowledge, competence, and virtues.
Very good. A teacher is a person who helps the student to acquire knowledge, competence, and virtues. Just know the key words there. Knowledge, competence, and virtues. Has anybody a different opinion of who a teacher is?
Saying my own way that the teacher is like a midwife who helps a child to deliver the knowledge embedded in him, because everyone has knowledge deep inside, but the teacher helps the child to give birth to the knowledge in him.
Okay. Essentially, she's talking about knowledge transfer. A teacher is a reservoir of knowledge, and the teacher has to transfer that knowledge to the learners. That's what she said. Has anybody anything different? Otherwise, I think we should be saturated with that.
Yes, a teacher is an instructor who has the capacity to impart knowledge on the student.
Okay. The teacher, according to you, is an instructor who has the capacity to impart knowledge on the students or learners. Well, let me mention that the teacher is loosely applied most of the time. But somewhere along the line, we know we will be referring to. So the term teacher is very ambiguous sometimes, and it refers to different people at various situations. A teacher could be a coach, a teacher could be a master, a be an instructor, as somebody said, mentioned there. A teacher could be an inculcator. A teacher could be an informant. A teacher could be a trainer. All of them tend to be teachers. Now, we have teachers in the school system. We have teachers in the non-school settings. But we are going to focus our attention in the school system. Who is a teacher in the school system? The issue of teaching is not a new concept. Right from the olden days, Plato himself has been emphasizing this teacher. And metaphor to describe who a teacher is. Would you want to listen to the description of Plato, a teacher by Plato? Plato described teaching as a noble act undertaken by noble citizens for the purpose of building a state with knowledgeable people. A teacher by Plato. Let's look at the component again. Teaching is a noble act undertaken by noble citizens of building a state. State here is nation with knowledgeable people. Not religious, not religious, not ill-informed, but people who are very knowledgeable. That was Plato's description of teaching. But what another person came up to describe a teacher having must. He described a teacher as a mediator. He described a teacher as a mediator. He simply mediates. Mediator of the word, mediator of learning. He described a teacher as a disciplinarian or controller of students' behavior. He also described a teacher as parents' substitutes. He described a teacher as confidant to students. And described a teacher as organizer of curriculum. He's a bureaucrat, a scholar, and a evaluator of students' achievement. The teacher is a facilitator, he's a mediator, he's a disciplinarian, controller of students' behavior. The teacher is a parent substitute, confidant to students, organizer of curriculum, bureaucrat, a scholar and evaluator of students' achievement. There are few quotations to ponder and relate with the description of what a teacher is. Quotations here. 1. Give me an idiot and I'll make him a genius. Somebody said, give me an idiot. If he's an idiot, I'm going to make him a genius. The next one is, education opens the door. But it is only the teacher that holds the key. The door is there. But who holds the key? The teacher. The next one is, when a medical doctor makes a mistake, a patient dies. When a building engineer makes a mistake, the building collapses. When a lawyer makes a mistake, justice is miscarried. But when a teacher makes a mistake, a whole generation suffers. Let's look at all this. Maybe let's start from the last quotation. When a whole generation suffers. I want somebody to water that last statement for us. Chief.
All right. The implication is that as a teacher, you have to prepare yourself before you teach. You have to know what you are teaching.
Don't give them wrong information. Don't give them wrong teaching so that we will not go with it.
Thank you very much. Let me take off from there. Many learners hero worship their teachers. They believe in their teachers more than even their parents. If you like, be a professor. Let your wife be a professor, a husband a professor, the wife a professor, and the child attends one primary or nursery school, and the teacher perhaps a grade 2 teacher. The information he gives to that child, that is the one that child will take. The professor is, if they say no, it's not so, no, that's not what my teacher said. So he believes in the teacher.
Thank you very much. Let me talk again from the first one. Give me an idiot. I will make him a genius. If by any mistake teacher becomes an idiot, that means we will make the whole nation an idiotic nation.
That is perfect. Please, I think it deserves a round of applause. In fact, by the ambiguous definition of a leader is a teacher. Let's have an idiotic leader. The whole system will become idiotic. You believe the blind man will lead people to blindness, and they will see, they will be seeing that result. So, you see how we now name the first one and the second one. So, a teacher has to be careful of the information he transmits. He has to be careful of the information he gives out. He must verify, confirm, do thorough research, or distorted the knowledge base of so many people there. It will take a very long time to alter, to change, or make them to disbelieve. Okay. Education opens the door, but it is only the teacher that holds the key. Can somebody water down that quotation for us? Education opens the door, but the teacher holds the key. Which key? Madam, looks like I want to say something.
Thank you. Education is like a school where your child attends. All the key, if the teacher wants to take the impact in that child, but he wants to break down what that child is coming to learn in that child's understanding. You will have the quest from that child or in that child.
Okay, thank you. You are right in your own way. What the teacher wants to implant, in the minds of the learners is what he will do. He holds the key. We have the curriculum. Very soon we are going into the curriculum issue. If the teacher cannot translate the curriculum into concrete action, the school has failed. The learners has failed. The society has failed. The teacher holds the key. If the teacher decides not to teach a particular topic, the child is finished. Remember, in sciences, mathematics, these concepts are being built upon. Lower concept, higher concept, it could be the same thing, it could be the same addition at different levels. If the teacher at the primary school level never loved a topic, calculate the area of a square or whatsoever, the teacher will run away while he was in primary school. And eventually he became a teacher and he cannot generate that knowledge. He has destroyed the learners under his own gate. He has not opened the door for knowledge to enter the learners, because you cannot give what you don't have. So that takes us to the next level. Professor Iloba mentioned that we came for a workshop, and it's going to be an interactive workshop. But we have to be very concrete about what we want to achieve here. What is the aim of this workshop? The aim of this workshop is to assist teachers in different diocese deliver educational benefits to the beneficiaries using global-based practices. This workshop is supposed to help teachers here to be at par with their counterparts in any part of the world, so that they can deliver educational benefits. It's a broad way, educational benefits to the beneficiaries. Who are the beneficiaries? The learners, the parents, all the stakeholders of education that are the beneficiaries. If you fail the pupils, you fail the parents, you fail the state, you fail the nation, because you are failing their responsibility. And so, anything that is wrong at any level will affect so many other developments at some other levels. So, we have to be very serious about this workshop so that there will be evident benefits to the beneficiaries. Ikot Ekpene, the Diocesan Education Committee, that's one of them. They are the people responsible managing the education system. You must not fail them. You must not fail the learners. You must not fail the parents. And of course, at the second point, everything collapses. There is nothing like, well, I'm a teacher in Ikot Ekpene houses. You are a teacher in the local government. You are a teacher in the state. You are a teacher in the nation. There is no partition. There is no demarcation. Whatsoever you do at one point will affect other points. So, these are the eminent beneficiaries. We have to know. You must not fail government. You must not even fail God. Now, that was the general broad aim of this workshop. We want to look at the specific objectives. What we want to achieve. What we want to achieve that must be measurable. Not just saying I've achieved it. At the end of it all, we should find out whether what we are trying to set out to achieve we've actually accomplished. Or we to help teachers understand the concept of curriculum and how it should be implemented in schools within Ikot houses. To help the teachers appreciate the role of curriculum in the school system. Very important. We'll talk about curriculum. What does the curriculum do to the school system? This workshop should help us realize that or appreciate that. To assist teachers in the diocese to identify major curriculum components. What constitutes the curriculum? What constitutes the curriculum? To guide these teachers here, you sitting, to establish or correlate the link between curriculum implementation and learning achievement. When I ask one question, how many schools do you think are good? Holy Mary College, St. Columbanus, Holy Child, this and that. Yes, fine. Why do you think they are good? Because one of the answers, let me quickly use this. The teachers there have been able to establish or correlate the link between curriculum implementation and learning achievement. Learning achievement is a very important thing in the educational sector. After you've done so much on the curriculum field, the bottom line is learning achievement. Have the learners accomplished what they were supposed to accomplish? Have they internalized knowledge? Not the matter of somebody going to broadcast to them in class. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Yes, madam. Tomorrow, you don't remember any of those facts. Have they internalized? What have you done for this knowledge to be permanent in them? Because it must be permanent. You realize that these days, students at the secondary school level, even at the university level, they will undertake a course of study, they will withdraw, they will finish, go for NYSC, somewhere along the line, that for those at the university level, they will go for job interview. You ask them question, sir, I can't remember. They will be opening their mouth, staring at them, sir, I can't remember. Why can't you remember? The simple reason is that this knowledge wasn't permanent. They didn't internalize it. It didn't really sink into them. They cannot apply it. And of course, if you claim to be doing electrical engineering or whatsoever, you come to this hall, one fan is not turning or some bulbs are not lighting, and they say, oh, my brother, you have BSc electrical engineering, can you come and help us? What will be responsible for this? And for 1 hour you spend, you don't know anything, you don't really know how to go about it. You think you learn anything in school? The answer is no. Because you cannot translate what you learn to concrete realities. And let me mention now that knowledge is useless if you cannot put it to use. Any knowledge you acquire does not make sense, except you can put that knowledge to use, except you can apply that knowledge, except you can transfer that knowledge. That is where knowledge makes sense. I know that is something for another day. So, but I'm trying to talk about curriculum implementation and learning achievement. They will take their students for quiz competition. Before the question is asked, they will be raising their hands. Why? Because of learning achievement. The curriculum has been accomplished. What they are going to have learned, they have learned. They can apply the knowledge, whichever direction you are coming from, they are just doing it for you. That's then to deepen teachers' understanding of curriculum content. To lead teachers to know what constitutes innovation and how to foster it. Very, very important. You want to be innovative. The world is changing. Only people like innovative can survive. The whole innovation. You can come out from anywhere if you are innovative. And that really takes us to entrepreneurial innovation. Only people that are innovative can be good entrepreneurs. Because they will develop something, they will come out with something, they must achieve something, they must realize something. They are innovative. They don't believe in what has existed 100 years ago. They are ready to change things to any direction based on what is involved. So, this workshop objectives we must realize. We would like to define some keywords. If you look at it, if you recall the topic of this workshop, fostering effective curriculum implementation and innovations in secondary schools in equal houses. We want to water down those keywords so that we can flow. What is fostering? What is fostering? To promote growth or development. If you try to promote growth or development, then you are fostering. There are other words associated with fostering: advance, cultivate, encourage, further, nurture, promote, nurse. They are all associated with fostering. At any given time, you have to foster. You must advance the cause of something. When the are attacking us, what have you done? You just sit down and watch them, they keep attacking you. What have you fostered? What have you done? What have you conceptualized and responded in concrete terms? Have you advanced anything? Well, we are not on that. Let's go to the next step. Next slide. Curriculum. This is the news of our state coming today. Curriculum is a serious issue, a serious way. We are going to dissect it. What is curriculum? Can it be different people look at curriculum from different perspectives? As we progress to look at the different perspectives, there are various viewpoints. But curriculum refers to all the experiences of the learners under the guidance and direction of the school. There is a school, you have learners, we are exposing them to experiences, all sorts of experiences, moral experiences, experiences of ethics, academic knowledge, discipline, physical exercise, manual work, good virtues. These are all experiences. Learners are exposed to these experiences, but under the guidance and direction of a school. When we say guidance and direction of the school, not the school building, but those that constitute the school. Lead teachers. So all the experiences of the learner under the guidance and direction of the school constitute what curriculum is all about. Some other people look at curriculum as a set of courses constituting an area of specialization. They look at curriculum as a set of courses. From another viewpoint, we will still go into that later. But they look at it as a set of courses where learners are exposed to. To them, curriculum is limited to a set of courses which learners must be taught. Now, another reason looks at it, the courses offered by an educational institution. Primary school, secondary school level, the courses are well structured. Subject by subject. As we move on, we break down the technique to syllabus, scheme of work, then loads of lessons. So all these, they are still part of it. Another person look at it as totality of student experiences that occur in an educational process. Another person looks at it as a planned sequence of instruction. Another person looks at it as a combination of instructional practices, learning experiences, and students' performance assessment that are designed to bring out and evaluate the targeted learning outcome of a particular course. Performance assessment as an important component of the curriculum. Performance assessment, evaluation. After all what we've done, are the students evaluated? How are they evaluated? What skills are they evaluated on? Is it skills, psychomotor, affective, or cognitive? These are the issues. We are not talking about evaluation today, but note that evaluation constitutes an aspect of the curriculum which we must look at within the educational system. And not just ordinary evaluation, proper evaluation. A detailed plan for instruction set by policy makers. A detailed plan for instructions set by policy makers. The policy makers have come out with instructions on what will be done, yearly basis, monthly basis, weekly basis, daily basis. And they have come out with a detailed plan. To some people, that is the curriculum. Then, lesson and academic content taught in a school or a specific course or program. A collection of lessons, assessment, and other academic content that is taught in a school. Then finally, generally, curriculum is a reflection of societal characteristics and trend. We will talk about all this as we are moving on. Let's get to, has anybody any query on that and you want to contribute? Recall that you would like to. You have supplementary information you want to generate. You are quite free. Otherwise, we move to the next slide. Now, we are looking at the concept of innovation. We've already said that innovation is crucial to the continuing success of any organization. For any organization to be successful, there must be innovation. But let me pause for a moment and digress a little. In our system here, during Christmas, there will be Christmas play, traditional play. We witnessed this thing over 80 years ago, for some of us who are up to 80 years old above. The question is, have we modified the way we've been doing, or is it the same thing? Is it the same now that will put the pepper in a pot, light it, and people will have problems, breathing problems? Is it the same now that will be going after women, flogging them, using knives? Is it the same able, the one we had over 100 years ago? Is that what we are still practicing? Is there any innovation? The same we look at this one that we used to experience. Has there been any innovation? You go to other clients, they have this, they package it, they make it, they do it for money. You know the period, you book a hotel, go and pay money, contribute to the economy of that place. Here, do we do that? Why? The simple reason is that we are not innovative. I'm not saying that we are not innovative in all ramifications, but I'm just looking at the traditional sector. How do we evolve? What caliber of people are diligent? What caliber of people are planted? What caliber of people are parahandlers? Is it the one that will still be pouring palm wine or kaka and be doing one moments incantation, and at the end of it all, did not bring anything to them? Does that show innovation? Is that what is happening other times? Things have changed. So we need to be innovative. And for any organization to be successful, there must be an element of innovation. In the classroom, there must be innovation. In our teaching method, there must be innovation. We cannot continue to use the old style, the old method. And where's the children's style? Now, we are running what is referred to as digitalized economy. And in a digitalized economy, we cannot come and have a workshop like this and be talking and talking. No PowerPoint projection. So this is a, don't worry, this is, there will be light. This is, we are experiencing COVID-19. Something we've never experienced before. Many schools were closed down. Businesses were shut down. In some climes, learning was still taking place. Here, there was no learning. Because we are not innovative. Now the in thing is virtual classroom. You can create a classroom in your house. Learners are there, you participate, give the result. I think somebody, I have some set of students who told me in Dr. Mem's Memorial School, they were taking exams online. This is an answer of innovation. But somewhere in this thing, we were listening to radio broadcasting of some lessons on radio, just to help the learners at home. On certain topics, some teachers will come. They will teach. Now, this is an opportunity to talk about. Do you think that was good enough? If it was good, you tell us why it was good. If it was not good enough, you also tell us why. I don't know where to start from. I think I should enter this one. This one is, let me look.
Since it was government policy, I would say it was okay to them. But there was no effectiveness because the beneficiaries was not up to 20%. I was saying, so in the remote areas, there was no radio, there was no evaluation
or light or power,
or what have you. But since it was the government that said it should go on, to them it was okay.
This, in my own opinion, I wouldn't condemn that totally, because it was a way of getting to the students. And you know, the radio is in fact, it's a very simple means of communication, very cheap means of communication that any poor student can reach at. Talk about watching or listening to teachers over the television, it may be more expensive, and not too many people will be able to avail themselves of that. I think that was why the government took that measures. And to add to that, in our dialect, they used to say, personally, I did not really subscribe to that, because you must look at your teacher, and there should be a classroom for learning. So listening to teaching students through the radio was good, but it wasn't good enough. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. I want to
while we praise the government for doing it, I thought it was very archaic. There was no real innovation. We have been listening to teaching in radio even before COVID-19. There was nothing very, very proper about it. I had called to listen to those teaching. Those were political teachers. Because I listened to the topics, I discovered if you give students those types of learning, they might not do well. They were very archaic, and I had no idea of the contemporary times. And how many people in the village, they were already too poor, had opportunity. There's no light anyway. If you buy battery today, remember by evening the battery is gone. It was recycled. So I thought it was very, very archaic, and it didn't excite the children because I've been listening to radio. Yeah. But if you do something like robotics teaching, like what you have a virtual teaching, yes. The children are enthused to watch people jumping around teaching, and they see the teacher, and they say, "Oh, my teacher, long time I saw him." I commend what the Ikot did. They tried to do it, I commend it. I don't know why it came to my system. I was looking at them and other schools, but I think government needs to pilot proper way of contemporary times, not to go back to radio teaching. When I was a child, we had radio teaching, the radio teacher. He was there. It was very timely. But when you are radio teaching at 9 p.m. or 7:30 p.m., but when the children are playing football, you have those things. I don't think it works.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you, Prof, and thank you, sir. With due respect to all the opinions others hold, what happened, what the government did with the school on radio may not have been the best, but was a child of circumstance. And for me, the best thing that happened, the best thing I drew from that situation was, I think everybody realized the value of a teacher. Even the parents came to realize that it wasn't possible for them to do the work of a teacher. Even with the online class, because the problem, as Prof is saying, I wanted to say something about the people who make the policies. Some policies do not, I would say, they're not friendly to the situation we find ourselves. Even the online class, all of us, the schools that tried that, we did not have it easy with the parents. They were complaining because, of course, they had reason to complain. Network was a problem, accessibility to network, everything, even the cost of the data, it was a problem. Whereas in some places, you see government subscribing and giving maybe the service, the network service, free of charge to schools and institutions doing this. So what I want us to really take home from what happened was we have some worth as teachers. Because no matter what you do, as you said there, education opens the door, the teacher holds the key. So it's not enough to stay on radio and talk. If a teacher is not there, the class management is very important. Very, very important. And unfortunately, Prof, I am duly informed, because some of those teachers who taught on radio, some of them were very good, by content. But I'm duly informed that the board has, in quotes, compensated them by giving them political assignment. They're now in the offices. They've been taken out from the classrooms to go to offices. Whereas those are the type of teachers we would need. Instead of that, they should be paid higher and kept in the class to help the children. So finally, and in summary, I'm saying what happened was good. It could have been better, but it really showed the work of a teacher.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Well, it's an opinion, what we are expressing. I want to commend the government for doing that much. People say half bread is better than none. They did so much. It's just the commitment on the parts of the parents and the children that were at home that did not work out. It did not work out simply because they were like saying, after all, we are not saying the teachers, we are not in the classroom. But when we compare, like my brother said about radio in the town, in the rural areas and all that, where we don't find this radio, we find phones. If children can buy phone, parents can buy phone for their children in the rural area, and they couldn't provide a small radio for the child to listen and learn, I think the fault is not on the government. The fault is on the teachers, on the parents. If there's no place you can go to in Akwa Ibom State, for example, that you will not find phone. And even if it needs for them to climb a tree and get the network, they will do it, provided they communicate. But my thinking is that the government did much, did well. If there was a good cooperation on the part of the parents, it would have been more useful. Me, I listened to the lessons. They were too good. They were too good. We didn't have that opportunity. If you have had that opportunity in our time, I think we would have become genius. Honestly. So what I'm trying to say is that you see, innovation we are talking about. Before now, we used to go to the office, line up and pay school fees, pay our fees. But we can do it online. You don't even need to go to the school any longer. You get to the bank and do it. I think there is a lot of innovation. We should not slap off the innovation that we are having at the moment, but we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much.
As the COVID-19, as you said earlier, took everyone by surprise. Of course, took the government by surprise because they were not prepared, as many other sectors were not prepared. But what they did, I would say, was okay for a time. The teachers who taught, as Father Amen said, were quite seasoned. They were seasoned teachers. And audio teaching is different from a virtual teaching. Yeah. If I have something written, I can give it out. Clearly, as they were reading, they were taking their time to read. I think most of our teachers seated here, if they have opportunities for such, they would also deliver. I admired what they did and hope that every one of us seated here can also improve to some extent to what those teachers did. One limitation I found from the radio lesson was that some subjects were not considered. Okay. Of course, they couldn't consider those. The sciences could not be brought in so much because they need to be delivered in a way that the learners can get properly. That couldn't have been done with the radio because you can't read mathematics. That's it. You can't read physics. You can't read chemistry. The children will have to see you carry out the practicals. They have to see you solve problems on the board. But this was not done. I thought that was a limitation that the school on radio posed for the government. Who knows, as we were talking about innovation, we need to move further than we have been now. In case another time calls us to act proactively, would we be ready? Even as schools, even as a diocese, we are talking about the government. What could we have done as Catholic schools? Individual schools sit at different levels, but could we have done it as a body, as diocesan schools, so that it is not one school doing better than the other, that all of us are carried on together? While it was good, I also saw that limitation.
Thank you so very much. Well, I know that many people want to talk about this. Innovation is very important. And of course, there is a common problem in our language. They will say, evidence is a mechanism that we have to be prepared for something. We need to be prepared before an occurrence takes place. We need to have facilities for early warning. And, so that when something comes, we are able to, take up the challenges. But I was just telling the honestness. On the whole, my only worry was that there was no feedback process. It's a communication process. In any communication process, when there is no feedback, communication is not effective. You talk to somebody, the person has to talk back to you. Knowledge is a personal thing. You are in a class of 45 learners. Do you understand? Everybody will say yes. Each of them, they have difficulties. The personal property. They have to reorganize their brain to understand a particular concept. It's not a general thing, especially in the sciences. And that's why concepts like advanced organizers, and many other concepts we should talk about in the public. Do you know that if you are going to the airport, there's what they call translator. It's like a part like this. Listen, it's very important. It's like a path, it's like a road. We are walking on a road. Normally, if you walk ordinarily, you'll be walking like this. But if you are going through a travelator, you put your leg here, the next one will be there. It takes you fast. Some of you that makes international travel, maybe you understand. But I mean, you should understand what I'm talking about. But otherwise, you should understand what I'm talking about. The rest is that one that you understand, and many others. Now, mentally, there are many things that we do to faster knowledge. There are many things that can be done to faster knowledge. It's like if you want to do painting or do some work on a very high building, you need something that will take you down there. Mentally, there is something like that. There is what they call mental scaffold. Something that will move you to the next level fast. And these are the things the teachers has to do. And it's a function of curriculum. And that is why the teachers, you don't go when school is over. You sit down and plan for the next lesson. You must use instructional materials. You must use, it's a matter of must, something that will help the learners to understand the concepts. You have to do that to promote learning, meaningful learning. Not just learning, but meaningful learning. I don't want to hear learning because it's a moral issue. But they are happening. Robotics, you heard of transgender? Somebody who was a man decides that he doesn't want to be a man, he wants to be a woman, and it's possible. He said, how? That day, or right now as we are talking, the person in charge of COVID in the US, I think the director of COVID, he was a man, he is now a lady, and they are giving her that position. Sometimes they just abuse her, call her chill missus. So these are the things happening. Transgender, you were a man before, now you say, no, I'm not interested in being a man, I want to be a woman. And behold, there are people who make that possible, and you become. It's a function of science and technology, and it's a function of this innovation we are talking about. There's nothing robots cannot do. Robots can come and save you, talk to you. Many things are happening. We are in the world of science and technology, and we have to be very open. They have done even what they call sex idol.
Yeah.
You're a man, you don't want to have problems with anybody, you just go and buy a robotic thing that looks like a human being, complete. With remote, you program and the robot will do whatsoever you want for you. It happens. These are issues, they are moral issues, but they are science and technology issues, and it's a function of curriculum, innovation. Now, maybe before the light comes, we were not serious. You see people who go to toilets, they don't wash their hands. They do this, they don't wash their hands. COVID-19 has come. Ebola came. You must wash your hands. So, issue of washing of the hands must come into the curriculum. It must come into the curriculum. They call it water education. You don't even waste the water. There are people who used to waste water because they have seen water. So there must be water education, environmental issues, they must come into our curriculum. We'll go into curriculum development and things are happening. So the owners of schools must inject these new developments into the curriculum so that the learners will internalize them, practice them, and maybe there will be examinations on them. I don't know, I think, can we continue? Yes. Content. Curriculum content. Well, okay. Curriculum content. What exactly are the contents of the curriculum? The content of the curriculum is an embodiment of all the attitudes. Attitude. Sometimes we never consider attitude as an aspect of curriculum. I want you to note that attitude is a very important component of curriculum. The attitude of the learners, very, very important. Because if we are training people without good attitude, the world will be destroyed. People who goes on hijacking now, suicide mission, you know that a pilot, if you know what it takes to train a pilot, he spends so much money undergoing that training. And he has a bad attitude. And that attitude will shape the way he sees the world. You can be radicalized now. You see the world differently. You can be radicalized and you don't see anything good in yourself. You don't see anything good in your world. And you want to destroy everything and destroy yourself. That is why suicide bombers, they will go and wrap a bomb around themselves, kill thousands of people, kill themselves. Because they have been radicalized. Why? Because of the attitude. The school has a role to play to ensure they instill the right attitude in the learners. A pilot can go like those that were flying the plane during the September 11 destruction in the US. They went on a suicide mission, bombed everywhere, hit every place. The plane caught fire, everything crashed. If the building collapsed, people died, they died. They don't have intention of surviving. They will die because of the attitude. And so, if the school cannot modify attitude of the learners, they are in trouble. There are children in school who will go and kill their parents. In my place where I come from, a son to somebody, a businessman, killed the father in his sleep. And do you know how he killed? He used saw and saw off his head. Chop off his head. Some of you are aware of it. Have you not heard of that sort of story before? There are places children will go and demand millions from their parents. You don't give, they kill you. So issue of attitude is very important for the school. It must be an important component of the school system. You have to refine the attitude of the learners. And you refine them, and you have to show that it has been refined.
they must demonstrate overtly that they have good attitude. So it's an important component of the curriculum. There are so many things we can talk about on attitude. All this Boko Haram thing is the attitude. These children now on Boko Haram, they never went to school. They are product of the Ahmadiyyan system. When they are born and they are about age 3 or 4, if they are from Kano, they are taken to Sokoto, and the only thing they give to them is plate, plastic plate, and they roam about searching for their own survival. They are strictly on their own independently. If they see food, they eat. If a volunteer gives them food, they eat. If they do not, they sleep there. They can use one plate, there is garri, they collect ogi, they collect bread, they collect, they eat. Now, do you think this caliber of children can have good attitude? They will hate the world. That is what is happening. And we will experience more of that. So the school has a lot to do to change their attitude, modify their attitude, and is an important component of the curriculum. Then another important embodiment of the curriculum is knowledge. Knowledge. There are certain knowledge that must be generated. Knowledge that must be generated through the course content. Every content has knowledge. And that is why even now, in the university system, they say every course must have entrepreneurial components. It should be something they can translate into reality and be able to survive with it. If you learn chemistry, you should be able to make soap. You have no reason not to make soap if you studied chemistry in the university, even in secondary school. If you study agriculture, you should be able to keep poultry. You should be able to keep snail. You should be able to plant water leaf. During dry season, you can still survive. That is the entrepreneurial component. So, knowledge. The curriculum should have knowledge. Knowledge content. We, the teachers, must be acquainted with, must be conversant with, must have good control. They have control of this knowledge, they can deliver this knowledge. Not being go to the class, especially in mathematics and science, they can deliver. And the learners cannot understand. And if they don't understand, they can apply that knowledge anywhere. So, we've talked about attitude, knowledge, and skills. Skills. Let me mention that in many societies, not emphasize. The psychomotor aspect of knowledge is not, they are not emphasized at all. Do you know that if you are in sports now, you are a multi-millionaire? If you can play football, basketball, lawn tennis, anything. Do we emphasize this in our schools? Do we take physical education seriously, them seriously? Do we allow them? Do you know that this is an aspect of the curriculum? This is very important. If you're a boxer now, you can earn a living. In fact, if you're a boxer or a footballer, not even that, all these clowns, what do you call them? They will come and make jokes. Comedians. Those people could be giving visa to a country and they don't give to you. I'm telling you. Not to talk about musicians. They are the first people to obtain their visa to anywhere they go. And you sit down there, you're a teacher, you go there, they will deny your visa. I'm telling you, especially if you don't have money. Those ones, they know they are going to make money. So, these skills are very important. These skills, we have to ensure we promote them in the school. Right from primary school. Right from primary school. We should be able to observe our learners very well in primary schools. Even though they are coming to study book. Let's put it in a rough language, book. They are coming to learn book. They are coming to study academic subjects. But there is more that can help them in the future. Let me give you a typical example. I have a friend from Abak. I think he had a son in seminary and one in early childhood, 2 children, a daughter. Somewhere along the line, he was always visiting home. and he acted very rough. He said he would move them to US. He moved them to US. When they went to, they were very small. While they were here, one of them, the mother used to ask her to come and assist her plait her hair. And the other one in the seminary, in the seminary you have to go for games. Even if you don't play football, all those useless things they do. They went to the US. They played in the US after some time. Her name is Umara. She was the one earning money for the entire family. Through him, that skill, the skill she learned. Then Ubam, the other one, Ubam, he went to a high school there. That's what they call secondary school, high school. Ubam was there, in the secondary school, they will attach somebody to observe you there. Somebody to observe you. While you're in the class, while you're outside, somebody will observe you. So somebody observed this boy and said, this boy could be a good wrestler. The one that was in the seminary. And they started training this boy on wrestling. He wrestled for his class. He wrestled for his school. He wrestled for the region. And after some times, they realized that he could be a good American soldier. They enlisted him in SEAL. If you know the military in the US called SEAL. Those are the ones that can undergo any operation. They can operate in the air, in water, anywhere. They can operate. That was the SEAL, the group that they used to go and get Osama bin Laden. And they got him right. They can fly down from the air. This boy from Akwa Ibom here, he was in SEAL. And he fought in Iraq. Why? Because somebody observed him. They knew, they saw certain things in him, promoted him. As teachers in secondary school, do you take time, take a penetrating look at your learners, the students? Have you been an advisor to their students? Do you advise them well? Have you seen somebody with very good legs and you say, look, you could be a good high jumper, or you could be a good lawn tennis player, or this and that, and you help the person? That is what we are lacking here. Because here, our perception of the curriculum does not include skills. Even in secondary school, some of these children, to go to class, they don't like. But during sports, all of them will be complete. Football, they will be there. Do you develop their skills in football, or you just give a blanket judgment that they are good for nothing? You know that there are people who are good in music and go into academic knowledge that are completely useless. You know that there are people who are good in music, they can spend their whole time in music. They are not interested in any other thing. That is where their attitude lies. So, skills is another very important component of the curriculum. Okay, get to the next slide. What do you know about attitude? We've taken time to talk about attitude. The attitude is an important component of the curriculum which must enshrine in our learners so that they don't become nuisance, so that they are not radicalized to go and kill their parents, kill people in the society, or become headsmen or Boko Haram. I've said something about the margarine because nobody cares for them. Nobody is developing or sharpening their attitude. And at the end of it all, they turn against the society. Nobody else to mold the attitude. In the seminary, you know what you do there to mold the attitude of the learners there. So it's an important component of the curriculum. We talk about skills. That some skills we must not ignore. All the skills are useful because God did not create everybody to come and be good in academic knowledge. You can be a boxer, a footballer, a musician, and all this. And so the school has to promote this, and it's an important component of the curriculum. Then we've already talked about knowledge, academic knowledge,
be impacted to the citizens through the schools and other socializing agencies.
My Lord, we are here waiting your arrival, the dream baby introduction to our workshop. We are thank God that you are here to declare the workshop open. This is you are the school. You are the proprietor, the driver, the chief driver of the school in Ikot Ekpene Diocese. And as a father, these are your children. We are not just teaching for money, but we are teaching for formation, moral formation, academic formation, and all formation, aspects of formation. And one of your children, one of your son, Dr. Patrick Ukun, the lady president of our Barbon Parish, is the main facilitator this workshop. So my Lord, we welcome you, and I think you will say something and declare the workshop open. That will continue. You are welcome, my Lord.
Chairman of the United Religion Commission, all the members of the Religion Commission, the Diocese, the facilitator, Dr. Patrick, and all the others who are helping us, my beloved principals of our various schools, my beloved teachers. It has always been my desire to have this kind of workshop, to acquaint ourselves with the ways of doing things. Not only modern ways of teaching, but modern ways of teaching what we teach. I want to express my profound gratitude to the Chairman of the Education Commission of our Diocese, Reverend Father Professor Vincent Gabriel, who has started so well, and the Commission of our Diocese for making this workshop possible and very fun. I cannot express my gratitude profoundly enough, and to simply say thank you for putting this together. And perhaps I shall have started with an apology. I think it's not too late to apologize. I confided in the Chairman of the Education Commission that I have to report to this and that is why I was here exactly at the time I was supposed to be here at 11 o'clock. So we have just come back. So, not only declaring this workshop open, I am also expressing the gratitude of the whole diocese to my brother and friend, Dr. Patrick, for accepting to do this job for us. In fact, we are very grateful to have you, very, very happy, one of us, to do it. And we know that the principals and all those who are benefiting from this exercise really appreciate it. Because it acquaints them once again, refreshing their memories of the things that they know already, which perhaps they may have forgotten or perhaps neglected. We are quite aware of the situation in which our schools find themselves. Not that we are doing badly, but we are in a very competitive world. Practically, you have to have equipment. and compete in the world when you are competent to compete. You cannot compete in the world that you are not competent to compete, otherwise you simply fall out. But beyond competition, we want also to show direct leadership. The Catholic education has always been at the forefront of leading the education system. Because we are not simply offering certificates, we are molding characters. Making you good human beings to come out at the end of the secondary school period of 6 years, or the end of the primary school period of the same time, 6 years, or making people come out if we have the capacity at the end of 4 or 5 years in the tertiary institution to mold character that will change society. Society will never change by talking. Society can only change by human beings who have a competent character to change society. Part and parcel of the dream and the anxiety of the Catholic Church of our diocese to transform the society from inside. And it is only we that can do that, because we have the passion to transform human beings inwardly, molding them, giving them character that will make the society, the character that society is losing. We want to bring it back as much as possible. So it is these and other things that we've been told during this workshop that make us to achieve this end. Let me thank you, all the principals of our schools, and for the self-gift that you are giving to us, for accepting to do the things that you are doing in your schools. Let me thank you, my dear teachers. I think this is a very rare opportunity that I've had to see all of you as a group. I see the teachers in their different schools from time to time, but this is the first time I'm seeing you as a whole group, together with the Education Commission. I want to encourage you to continue to do all that you can to make sure that at the end of it all, you'll be proud of the products you have produced. Sometimes it is very difficult to carry out this assignment because of the inability of the Catholic Church of our diocese to do some of the things that other private schools are doing. But I want you to be aware that we are not private schools, we are mission schools. And mission schools don't know how to make profit, they only know how to contribute to society, as I have said earlier. So I want to thank you for making us achieve this end. But at the same time, when we achieve the end, if anything we do comes out of it, like I always say. So I want to thank you for choosing this topic and to address this topic at this very important practical time that our schools are just resumed. So on my behalf, and on behalf of all those who are working with us, and on behalf of the Education Commission of our diocese, led by the very Reverend Father, Provost of this and Reverend I declare this workshop open in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Thank you, my Lord. I will talk to the head of the
Yes, we are curriculum content. We try to talk about the components of our curriculum, not limited to attitudes, academic knowledge, and skills. we, the society, needs the impact on our citizens through our schools and other socializing agencies. We've talked about schools and socializing agencies. We mentioned that it is the schools that will be able to impact the aspect of attitude, knowledge, and skills. But what about socializing agencies? We agency could be referred to as being a socializing agency. Can somebody tell us? The church. The mass media. So, if the family fails, we know that we're in trouble. If the church fails, we know that we're in trouble. The mass media must censor the content of their broadcasts because each time they broadcast, they're implanting information in the minds of so many people. Sometimes they find it difficult to change. So all these values must also be enshrined in the minds of our leaders through socializing agencies. And that is why the church is doing much, not only at the school level that they are, but right inside the church there. You realize we must perpetuate the right day in the church. And those ones that are not good, we should also discourage them, eliminate them at the church level. The church has so much to do. Cannot handle all this. The knowledge could be, enshrined in the minds of our people. In the church, learning can take place in the church. Serious teaching can take place in the church. And let me mention this. When a child is born, he comes with a blank slate. The mind is seen as a blank slate. That's what Diocesan says. And what the society feels in the mind of the child is what the child will become. And so far, I feel nonsense. That is what the child will become. Earlier, before the Lordship came in, I thought about Boko Haram. The attitude and values, their allegiance, their evangelism system, they go around begging, nobody cares for them. When the night falls and they sleep there. They go with a plate, whether the plates are washed or not, they get food to eat. Nobody takes care of them. And when they grow up, they don't care about anybody. They just believe that it's spirituality hates them. And so they don't have moral values. They can kill anybody. Anybody can radicalize them and they decide to do whatsoever they like. So the schools, as schools, we have a role to play to teach. We used to have Sunday schools for children. Or before maybe service is going on here, the children are gathered there, and serial moral lessons being imparted at them. This is one of the socializing agencies. The family too. If you fail in your family, the school might not do much because at the end of it all, at the formative period, the child will come to school. And so if the school fails, home fails, the child is finished. The society is finished. And of course, there is one thing we use in curriculum and sociology, that the school is a microcosm of the society. That is, the school is a small representation of society. All the ills of society that are found there, that's why you have cultism, this and that. All these useless people go to the university, secondary school, you find them. So the society has a lot to do to modify, the behavior of the learners. But generally, we are talking about curriculum content consisting of attitude, knowledge, and skills. Whatsoever the society wants to impart on the learners, it is done through schools. We will discuss more on this. But first of all, let's go to sources of curriculum. Sources of curriculum, let's talk about the different aspects of curriculum content. Academic subjects, skills, attitudes. We that said skills are also important. People, they can become millionaires. People who can dance, they can become millionaires. Clowns can create funds and become millionaires. Modern curriculum development does not put the priority on a single source. A single source to provide content to the curriculum. A single source cannot provide content to the curriculum. Curriculum experts have identified various sources of curriculum, and these sources are educational psychologists. Educational psychologists is this aspect. Whatsoever will come into the curriculum is going to come from the learner themselves. What are the needs of the learners? What are their needs? What are their psychological needs? How can the school take care of that? So the learner himself, what are the needs of these learners? You cannot overlook the needs of the learners when they are trying to look at curriculum contents. These very children, the learners that are in the school, you have to think of them as an individual, their needs, their problems, what are the gaps that exist. They gain entry into the curriculum. Then sociologists regards the society as a source of curriculum content. What is happening in the society? How can we modify the behavior of people in the society arising from what is happening in the society? Now there's kidnapping in the need. There are some children that were arranged for their parents to be kidnapped so that they collect body at the end. I'm sure you know this happened. We witnessed this. I mentioned here in Anambra where a child arranged and used saw to saw off the head of the father because of money. Now, what is invoking the society? How can these things that are invoked, those ones that have negative values, how can the school help to eliminate them? That is how sociologists regard society as a source of curriculum content. There are certain things in society, you want to eliminate those things, you want to reject those things, you want to condemn those things. How do you fashion that into the curriculums and be taught in the school so that the learners will understand and that information will move from one generation to another? Then philosophers regard values as a source of curriculum content. What is the thinking of philosophers? What kind of world are they seeing? Recall sometimes ago when we were talking, when we were discussing who a teacher is, I mentioned that Plato described teaching as a noble act, undertaken by noble citizens for the purpose of building a state with knowledgeable people. Now, if you have this at the back of our minds and look at the philosophical aspect, the values from philosophers, what kind of teachers do we need? And philosophers, how are they perceiving the society? What kind of values do we think we should include in the curriculum? People who are honest, people with integrity, people who don't tell lies, people who are disciplined. These are aspects of the curriculum. Discipline must be enforced in our school system. No matter how intelligent an individual is, if the individual is not disciplined, every other thing will fail. And so, from a philosophical aspect, they also have inputs on the curriculum. Then those in academics believe in the subject matter. The subjects, the content of the subjects, they constitute an aspect of the curriculum. Remember when we were defining curriculum by different people? Some people look at curriculum as issue of subject matter. When you have a syllabus, is the content of the syllabus covered? Every day, six of curriculum content. All these come together to constitute the curriculum. So the curriculum is not an isolated thing, it's an integrated thing. When we look at the learners themselves, what are the needs of the learners? How can the school provide the needs of the learners? It must be an aspect of the curriculum. How is our society? Is it good? Is it bad? If it is bad, what can we do to remedy the situation? How can these values be taught and learned by the learners so that eventually they are good citizens? Then the philosophers, then academic subjects. Let's get to the next slide. Education. We've talked about innovation. That any society that is not innovative is likely to fall. That society will become, all what they do will become obsolete, no longer useful. Because we are in a dynamic system. People must continuously see what they can do through research or researches to modify what has been done. I talk about, our Christmas play. 100 years ago, the kind of play we used to showcase, and we modified them. The kind of people we used to showcase, and we modified them. And we made them to be income generating. Or we go into the one they will say a miracle, or a go we go into Senedo, and nobody will come out. No woman will come out. The market will not hold. People will not drive with their cars through the roads. So these are archaic practices, and we can no longer continue to rely on all these stupid practices. We have to modify. What is the engine in the world now in terms of technology? We are talking about robotics. We discussed it. We are talking about artificial intelligence. We are talking about things that will be done to move learners from one level to another. I've talked about if you are traveling by air and you get to an airport, there's what they call tabletop. You don't have the identity to take it to the other side. That will be done mainly to promote knowledge. I've talked about mental scaffold. What you can do for learners to learn fast. I have mentioned that knowledge is a personal thing. It's not a general thing. And for you to understand something, it goes through some processes in your brain. And you use your mental infrastructure to organize them for you to understand them. And so, what kind of teachers do we have? What kind of teaching styles are they adopting? Are you using instructional materials to fast-track learning? To provide scaffold? Are you using advanced organizers? When we started, I came up with an advanced organizer, something that will prepare you to understand the lesson better. Are you doing this in the school system? So, the curriculum must constantly be modified to replace obsolete facts or development. Now, I mentioned issue of Ebola, COVID-19, all of them involve washing of hands. Issue of washing of hands, have we introduced it into our curriculum? Have we made our learners to know that if there is tap water, we must not open the tap for the water? The water can even finish, even if it comes from somewhere, and there should be water education. What is happening in the society must be incorporated into the curriculum. And so, the curriculum must constantly be modified. We have curriculum development models. Steps, essential steps to take in order to build a curriculum. If you look at that slide there, the first as far as identification of learner needs. What are the critical needs of the learners? Learner needs. Recall this has been an interactive workshop. What are the learners' needs? What are the needs of the learners? Which we have to identify. And somebody.
I think what every learner should need will be generally known as knowledge towards his or her own field of specialization.
Okay. Knowledge. What are you talking about? Knowledge. Now, has anybody any knowledge?
Learners' needs are really very vast because every learner in a class has a particular need. For instance, if I am from Ohio and I'm staying in Ikot Ekpene, my background shows I'm educationally more advanced than some other person from Sokoto. My need would be, again, am I deaf? Am I dumb? It's my need. And I think there are so many things we take in. Learners need just means what is the problem of the learner? How can you carry the learner along? And how can you make sure at the end of the class he gets from point A to point B?
You are quite perfect. These are learners' needs. Every learner that comes to the class has his or her peculiar problem because it's from a particular background. You might not know his problem. So the school curriculum has to address that. How can the school reach out to the parents of the learners to solve an observed problem in the class? For example, like in our apostle seminary, the house is always opposite, or it's just opposite. You realize that the students have training to go out, in spite of the fact that there is really high level discipline. But there are certain things they lack. There are certain things they want. All these constitute the learner's needs. And the school cannot provide. Because they are biological beings, they need those things. There will be tendency for them to be victims, even though they are held for discipline or not punishing them. There is that tendency for a repetition. Perhaps, I'm not saying perhaps, the school can just set up a small canteen. Say, okay, these are the common needs, maybe pencil this and that. So this way they can get. Yeah, also, you identify the learner's needs. There are other needs like that must be identified, that constitutes an aspect of the curriculum. You must address the needs of the learners. There are some learners that come from diverse background and they come to your class. And you are trying to teach a concept they don't understand. You need to take them to the side where that concept is taking place. You go out on field trips or excursion. We are now trying to satisfy the learner's needs. You have first-hand impression, first-hand knowledge, and all that. So that is one aspect, one step. Another one is carrying out needs assessment or need analysis. Need analysis of a particular school. Unfortunately, in our system, we don't do needs analysis. Do people really have need for a particular thing? Have you done a thorough analysis of the problem of the system so that you can identify their needs and incorporate into the curriculum for everybody to study? And Norway in East Africa, where a community had serious water problems. They had to, trek long distances to go and get water from a pool of water, standing pool of water, dirty water, contaminated. And so white men visited the area and discovered that they were not drinking water from good source of water. It wasn't hygienic. And the people went back home, met, discussed, that went back to their country, what they can do to solve the water problem. And when they came back, they had to install a fantastic water plant for these people. But surprisingly, they realized that the women were not even patronizing that water. They still choose to go to far away and drink that their dirty water. The implication is that something was fundamentally wrong. That was not the needs of those people. You might think that you are trying to help somebody, not knowing that the person did not place that as a priority need. A disadvantage. They have no opportunity to go out. They have no opportunity to socialize with the other women. And that singular opportunity, they will carry their bottle, their whatsoever forward to the street. They will go ease out their emotions. They will talk out, compare, find out what happens in house A, house B, and by the time they come back, they are psychologically okay. And so, they will each other water and patronizing each other. So these people did not really carry out need analysis. We must do need analysis. If you give something to, okay, another story is, I have a friend, the wife was staying, I think, in Ghana, and the two of them in Nigeria, but he used to visit Ghana, and he realized that the wife had issue of cooking facility, gas cooker. So as he just came to Nigeria, went and bought a gas cooker for the wife, and I expected the wife to jump as soon as I thought it should be a good relief. But the wife said, so why should you buy this kind of thing? And he didn't tell me. How do you know the good one? I'm the one who are giving me money. I'm quarreling. So the man did not really understand the wife. That is the meaning. So you must carry out need assessment for everything you do in school. This need assessment will now, what are the needs? It might be educational needs. It might be content needs. There are certain topics the learners must know baseline knowledge before you introduce a new topic. If they don't have a good grasp of the baseline knowledge that will anchor the new knowledge, then they won't understand, especially in the sciences. There are some concepts in the sciences. Especially if we are talking about pH, acidity, alkalinity, it's difficult to express, even in the local dialect. So you need something that will anchor this, and that is what advanced organizer. So you need to know the needs of the learners in order to, what exactly are their needs, the academic needs, so that you structure into the curriculum. Father, I want to give you information.
Please, Doctor, I'd like to ask a question based on that carrying out need analysis.
Okay.
If you are developing the curriculum, especially based on the example you gave about the people who came to give that village water, does need analysis stop at only finding out what the people feel they need, or does it go further to maybe educating them on what they don't believe they need, or which they actually need? Because if you ask them, they went back to the other source of water because they did not believe water was a problem. But from what you said, we think water was really a problem. So does this carrying out of the need analysis include your educating them on what surely you found out as maybe as a specialist is their need, which they don't believe is one?
Yeah, thank you so very much. I think this is a thought-provoking question that we should not attempt to answer. I think when we are talking about need assessment, we use an integrated approach. Educating them is part of it. For example, in Nigeria, there have been vaccination programs, maybe against polio, against this, against that. There are people who doubt the genuine intention of that program. In the north, you can just go ahead and bring your vaccination. Nobody answers you. Because they are not sure what they are doing. And so, a form of debate to educate them. So, need assessment includes educating the beneficiaries, the prospective beneficiaries. Is there any other person who wants to participate? Specification of instructional objective, that's another one. When we commenced, I came out with the general aim of this workshop. What is this workshop expected to do for those that attend it? I also went further. What are the specific objectives by the time we leave here? What are the teachers expected to know? And I highlighted them, I think they were up to date. Now, in an educational environment, there must be specification of the instructional objectives. So, what you have in a curriculum should be things that will be able to do a particular thing for a particular group of people. When these learners are exposed to this kind of content, when these learners are exposed to this kind of knowledge, this is what should happen to them. And this is what they should demonstrate. And this is what should be observed in them. This is the level of knowledge they should acquire. And this level of knowledge must be measurable. That is just that for specification of instructional objective. And of course, this is very, very important for teachers. Many teachers go to the classroom and they don't identify what the learner should do within that class period. What should they acquire? What kind of knowledge? And they don't also highlight how will you assess whether this knowledge be anticipated and be acquired. And that is why we need loads of lessons. And that is why teachers must write loads of lessons. And that is why these loads of lessons must be supervised, must be marked by their superior, so that all these could be taken care of. Then evaluation strategies. The curriculum should also address the issue of evaluation. I mentioned that issue of evaluation is a different issue for a different workshop. Because even in the university, we have problems. Incidentally, we are in the same university with Professor Yoko. I'm the dean of faculty. Sometimes I hate the set up. Now, you find some lecturers, they will give students 3%. How can you give students 3%? These are students that attended lectures. Attendance of lectures has its own score. Doing assignment has its own score. Doing this has its own score. So even if the student does not write the exam, he should not have 10%. And when I bring that up on the floor, he said that there will be issue. And I now tell them, let me tell you what happens about knowledge. The knowledge exists at the cognitive level, psychomotor level, and affective level. The affective is about feelings. You could be taught a subject like history. The intention is to elicit some feelings in you that will make you to rise and say, no, I can't be like that honest man. He was a useless leader. He stole about, he did this. He encouraged Boko Haram, he did this. That is why we are studying history. So that is the affective. It's about feelings. Then, another of knowledge is about psychomotor, what you use your hands to manipulate, like physical education, this and that and that and that. If you look at play music and all that. Then cognitive is about the academic other subjects you write. And even the academic subjects, there should be questions on recall, ability to recall. I believe that these students cannot recall, they can't do this, they can't do that. Why are you giving them 30%? And you know, all these people, to be very candid, they are not professional teachers. They are not professional teachers. They are to be given an opportunity on the floor to give one, maybe 20 minutes lecture or do a presentation on this kind of things. Because knowledge has segments. The student cannot be completely useless. In some segment, he should be able to do well. So that is about evaluation strategies. So we have to consider our evaluation strategy. Because there is a way you give negative feedback to the learner records. The little he has known, he doesn't want to showcase again. You label him. When you give a child 2%, I mean, you want him to attend your class again. It might be that the school is going to for his parents or for anybody and he can't see. You are not encouraging the child. So that is the issue. So look at the kind of evaluation strategies. Because we are talking about curriculum. Contemplation of appropriate resources and methods. This is very, very, very important. As you are preparing your load of lesson, what kind of methods do you want to deploy in teaching the learners so that they understand? So that means the knowledge is not actually residing. They didn't get into their subconscious memory. They cannot make a report. They can't transfer knowledge. They can't even apply knowledge. Remember, I mentioned here that knowledge is useless if you cannot be able to use it. No matter what you have learned, if you can't use it when it is time, that knowledge is useless. It has no utility value. Knowledge must have utility value. You should acquire knowledge and adapt knowledge and use the knowledge. Even if the knowledge is not from here, you can bring knowledge to America and Russia and bring it here and adapt it to what we have here. And then let's get to the next slide. Now, while talking about curriculum development models, there are two prominent models by two prominent people. There are other people belong to the school of Plato and Aristotle. So one is Ralph Tyler, the other one is Willard. Those in curriculum, these names should not be strange to them. Ralph Tyler's model and Willard's model. Let's look at their models, what they talk about. This is Ralph Tyler's model of curriculum development. What is the aim as you are teaching this knowledge? What do you want the learners to know? And what are the specific things they have to take up? Apply the knowledge, internalize it. So, for Ralph Tyler, that is the first consideration. Aims and objectives. After that, the next aspect is selection of learning experiences. What kind of learning experiences are you selecting to match with the new knowledge you are going to teach them, to make sense in them? Where is the knowledge going to take place? Is it going to be in the classroom? Is it going to be in the laboratory? Are you taking them on field trips? What kind of learning experiences are you taking? Or do you know that even now, there are some people in the villages who are specialists in some aspect of knowledge you can bring to come and express that to the learners? That you know that you've heard that Utopan is dead and he will be buried on the 19th. And he was awarded a doctorate degree in traditional music or cultural music. Do you know the kind of knowledge this man generated through his music, through his dance? Do you know the information he transmitted, talking about the moral needs of society, talking about entrepreneurship? These are issues. You can bring something, listen. People are carrying out researches on tobacco. These are the learning experiences. Who is coming? Are you bringing an expert to come and handle that aspect of knowledge? There are many things in the primary school, especially there are many topics, science topics or mathematics topics at the secondary school level that teachers confuse the students until they finish, they don't know. And if you don't know at that level, at the university level, you can't, because it's a building up process. What kind of learning experiences will be exposed to understand these topics anyway? So that is what Tyler is talking about, selection of learning experiences. Next one How are you presenting this knowledge to the learners? Are you using instructional materials? You know that this is, you're operating in a digital environment, and digital technology is the in, and that it's morally wrong for a teacher to teach science subjects, even history or any art subject, without using instructional materials. Because instructional materials help to comprehend the knowledge. It helps you to understand fast and remember. You can't something that affected me. I've been to the primary school and got the one opposite the house. Secondary school, university, of the way. And I've been taught this concept of rotation of the aids, resolution of the aid, and all these things. They will talk about the effect of rotation of the aid, resolution of the aid, changes of the aid and season and all that. You just see it, but how does it work? I traveled to Kenya. And when I went to Kenya, I think it was about 6 hours or so. But when I came out, it was about 4 hours. I said, why? Why? I was in Chicago and I was coming to Nigeria for to stop over in Dubai. And in my ticket, they repeated the same day I left Chicago as the day I would arrive in Dubai. I said, why now? I will leave that day and I still arrive and I will take dinner in Dubai. You know, that same day I arrived. These are issues that even if you have a PhD, you are a professor, and you are not properly taught, you won't understand why. Those that travel, they understand. Either you are going, time is ahead of you, or you are behind time. And it's a function of, I think, the Greenwich meridian or whatsoever in geography. Now, I was able to understand that when I went to Malaysia. We had STAR conference, international STAR conference in Malaysia, and I attended. And part of the conference was to take us to an observatory, where they created a large hall like this and it looks over with stars and everything. An artificial, atmosphere, but in the night you have all these people. That was only when I was able to understand how this thing works. Look at me after a PhD, and that is the same place children in primary schools in Malaysia were exposed to, and they understood the thing. So we are talking about organizational learning experiences. How can you organize learning experiences for learners to understand a concept and apply that concept very well, and it makes sense to them? Part of our development here in Nigeria and Africa is because of how our learning experiences are organized. You will see a very long person here who is not good in mathematics, physics, technological subjects. They just take him to a laboratory, a special design, and the person is giving a personalized attention and thought properly. Honestly, he comes out to overcome all those difficulties and he will be ahead. It's a form of all those places you mentioned. How will they pass it out? They will not pass it out if they don't perform well. And they can only perform well if the learning experiences are properly organized.
Lord be with you. The Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you very much.
You receive from three broad areas: subject, society, and health sector. We've talked about that before. The next slide. This is the issue. Curriculum. We've talked about the big totality of experiences learners are exposed to in a school. Now, these experiences attitude, values, subjects, content, and all that, academic subjects. All these are taken care of by the syllabus. So the syllabus is a set of subjects or subjects to be taught or learned. From the syllabus is now broken down to scheme of work. Scheme of work for the week. And this scheme of work is broken down into topics, units, concepts, or themes. Okay, sorry, the thing is after that we have the notes of lessons. I think there are notes of lesson. After the scheme of work, we have the notes of lesson. Note of lesson involves the teaching strategies, the time that is allocated to a particular subject, and the learning outcomes that must be mapped out. Now, let's go to the real criminal aspect of this question. How can a school curriculum be effectively implemented in order to become living schools? How can a school curriculum be effectively implemented in order to become living schools? In other words, what can we do for our schools to remain top? Learn as passing exams, the school being popular, product of that school occupying top positions in the society. What can we do to inherit eternal life? These are the answers. We must try to execute all the components of our school curriculum, including the following. Effective teaching. We have to teach effectively. You must be forced to teach. You must be made to teach. Many teachers do not want to teach. Some of them, some teachers, they will have market stuff. Some market them and say this because I was learning. Maybe some teachers in school, they go to somewhere else. You must teach. There must be effective administration. Where are the head teachers? What are they doing? Do you understand the concept they call whole school development? Concept of whole school development. That is the function of the administrator. Are you monitoring the teachers, or you think the teachers will know what to do? I think there is what they call theory X and Y. That some human beings do not want to work except you apply some force. Have you heard of that theory before in administration? You have to administer. Some people will not want to teach. They won't enter their classroom. They want to receive salaries. They want to earn salaries. They don't want to discharge their responsibilities. They don't want to even write notes of lesson. In some schools, it's war before teachers write notes of lesson. And without a school of lesson, note of lesson is a roadmap for that lesson. It's a guide. What you do next, this and that and that and that. And of course, there must be effective guidance and counseling services. This is another aspect we overlook in school. Guidance and counseling services. Even in private, at the primary school level, not to talk about secondary school. Some of the learners have problems. Some teachers don't go to class. The learners can report the teachers. It is the guidance counselors of the coach. You can skip some topics. Those they cannot teach, they skip. And it's the students that will suffer. Am I telling that? So the one the curriculum review also to incorporate the new values in design and society as we are in a dynamic society. I've talked about this somewhere along the line. All the new values, we can key them into the curriculum. We have to change or modify the attitude of our learners. We've talked about this exhaustively. We must change or modify the attitude
We have to engage teachers that are well trained and can demonstrate mastery in their subject areas. This is very, very, very important. We don't need to tolerate teachers who are not trained. And you see the bracket, pedagogy. Pedagogy is all about the art and science of teaching. If you don't know the art and science of teaching, you are not a professional. And of course, now we have the teachers registration council. If you don't register with them, take the exam. Now it's computer based and pass. You are not registered as a trained teacher. Because as a trained teacher, there are many things you are expected to know. The needs of the learner psychologically. There are some educational psychologists. You must understand patterns of learning, how learners learn at different ages. You must be aware of doing. There are so many concepts that talks about different ages of development and what they will be prone to knowing. So that is the function of a trained teacher and a function of pedagogy. Then you must demonstrate mastery in your subject areas. You cannot teach mathematics and you are not an expert in that area. You have to know in depth. You have to show mastery. You have to demonstrate that you know it. You can't give what you don't know. There are many schools now, even at the primary school level, teachers have to write exams for them. Am I lying? Even in secondary school, WAEC, what do you call this other exam? NECO. Some teachers will just draw, write, and put that thing for them. Sometimes the teachers don't even know what they write. The students will still come around. These are the issues. So, if you demonstrate mastery in your subject area and you are in Father Mem school, they will have 100%. They don't rely on anybody. They don't even look. In fact, if you are a teacher, you go and tell them anything, they won't answer. Because they know what they are doing. They will be well groomed. They are very short. They have high self-confidence. Incorporate knowledge concepts that are useful and eliminate those that are undesirable. There are certain things you don't need to bring into the school curriculum. When those ones are undesirable, you remove them. Whether it is attitude, skill, whatsoever. Whether it is academic content or subjects or whatsoever. Those ones that are obsolete, you remove them. Bring in those ones. There's what they call 21st century skills. Bring in the 21st century skills, the skills that are required for people to survive in the 21st century. Those are the things that we need now. Those are the ones that will help people to become technologists. So these are, every school must have a syllabus and ensure that the content are well implemented. All content of the syllabus, you should touch it, let the students learn. Because when they are going to take jam, it's based on the syllabus. And so if you didn't cover the syllabus, your students will not pass jam. Every subject, every school must have an approved scheme of work that must be covered by learners before transition to the next class. It is not uncommon. It is not uncommon to find students moving to the next class when they have not covered the syllabus of the previous class. And that is inability of the class teacher or subject teacher or whatsoever. Every subject, all the schools will have a subject head who will supervise others and observe the performance of these teachers. Why? For the remediation of deficiencies if found. There should be a subject head. Somebody who has been there for a long time, who knows the subject. He can come and supervise another teacher in that subject and realize that they are deficiencies and all the person and remedy the problem. Every teacher must inescapably write their lesson notes, which must be duly marked and corrected before use. That's before you teach a particular subject, you have no way of escape. You must learn the way of escape. That is the roadmap. Don't say I know it very well. I think it's the way of escape. You need it. You must. If you are an administrator, you have to insist that a teacher writes some lesson, submit it for marking, and it has to be well marked. And the person marking it must painstakingly mark it, not glossing over it and just put red whatsoever, and the person will go and talk nonsense. Every teacher must deploy instructional facilities during teaching. Instructional facilities are very important. You must. It is insisted. Whether primary school, secondary school, you must. Instructional material might not be something you go and buy. It could be simply something you find in that environment, which even the learners can help to collect. There is what they call environmental prints. Something you can, sometimes things that are wasted, you use it and convert them to instructional facilities. And of course, the most of them are teachers and learners must be disciplined. The teachers must be disciplined. In our school system, we have many teachers that are not disciplined. Some of them are drunk and they come to school in the morning with many alcohol. I know many. I was an education secretary. When you confront them, they say they were taking heads or roots. Many teachers do not go to their classes in time and on time. They don't. That time lapse is very important. Even if it is 2 minutes, that means cumulatively is something. You have to go to school in time, go to your class in time. You must not cheat the student, you must not cheat the school, you must not cheat the system. So, teachers, learners must be disciplined. If you have students in the school, if there are cases, let that case or the cases be resolved properly. Do not say, oh, it is something to one politician. No, we won't touch it. Let him come and smoke cocaine in the secondary school, or sniff cocaine in the secondary school, or smoke Indian hemp, or do all sorts of nonsense, or practice things that the school does not want. You must discipline the student. There must be evidence that student has been disciplined. Otherwise, you are creating problems for other children because they are observing. They say, after all, what did you do to that one? If the father is a politician or somebody in the military or something, let him come and take his child and teach wherever he is. If the school is there to mold character, the school must discipline the child. Ladies and gentlemen, with you, we spend about 2 hours. I want to thank all of you for listening. I think we will have an opportunity to meet again. I want to appreciate those that gave me this assignment. I don't know what they found in me, but I decided to accept it. And I think I've seen people, attendees have been very useful. You've contributed immensely. Like I said, it was supposed to be an interactive workshop, and I think truly it has been truly interactive. Thank you and all this.
Thank you very much. In fact, and before we close, we are going to close.
Presentation. This is a baby to curriculum, and that's why curriculum came in first before this presentation. Every academic institution exists basically to ensure that its beneficiaries gain what they ought to gain, and to uncover a teacher. You're supposed to be very knowledgeable, and you're supposed to be very much ready available to give to your learners what they ought to have. And I have it again. What do we teach? What to teach? Doctor had told us that what we teach are contained the first in teaching process. If you are not prepared, you cannot teach. Why do we prepare? We prepare to be master of the subject, to have facts and backups and references, to give details and illustrations, to know which instructional materials to use, to ensure orderliness in presentation, to prepare for impromptu questions from learners. We know that learners can be very naughty in some cases. You have a child, especially intelligent children in the class, they can throw you off balance. You are teaching them something before you go in, they got in and ask you a question. If you depend on their own book, if you didn't read wide, you will be thrown off balance. Now, to take down roads for students' use. It is important here to know that no lesson is the outcome of your preparation, the outcome of the research you carry out in order to take up a lesson. Now, there are two ways of writing lesson notes, the prose and the tabular form. I want to believe they are all aware of, very conversant with the use of prose form, and that is why this presentation takes up the tabular form. And of course, today, this age, universities, colleges of education, schools of education emphasize so much on tabular form of lesson notes. Why? Because it explains itself. You can see what you need to do at a glance. You don't need to be carrying a book and bury your eyes on the book before you can teach in the class. Just as you would have in your prose form, you have the subject, the topic, the date, class, average, age, gender, duration, reference material. Many people also believe that the reference material you use in a particular lesson is that which the school recommends for that class. No. I'm sure Dr. Ben will give us a talk on curriculum. He did not use the National Policy on Education only. Of course, if we need to know the curriculum, we can also read it up from the National Policy on Education. Into reading many other books to give us what he has given us today. In the same way, for you to be a very good teacher, you must not bury yourself into the children's lesson, textbook, recommended textbooks. You are a teacher because you are to read other textbooks as backups of your own recommended books. Even your university books are very important when you are teaching in the class. Let me go back to this reference. It is also very unfortunate that you use your textbooks and that is where your students copy notes from. So that I don't know if there are administrators here who have observed anything like that. Children's notes being copied verbatim from the textbooks. Sorry, you are not a teacher to do that. Doctor talks about specific objective, that it must be measurable. It is specific because it must be measurable and achievable. That is why it is specific. And it means children will be going home with your notebook to copy notes. And if one child goes home with your notebook, for you to go around with 30 children in your class, some children will not have notes in a whole day. Then, for you to have a very good specific objective, Doctor has said, you must follow learner's domain. By learner's domain, we call it educational domain. We mean the cognitive domain, the affective domain, and the psychomotor domain. The cognitive domain has to do with the knowledge, the application, the synthesis, what are the application, and the affective has to do with the mind, the feeling.
in class. And then here, for you to state your specific objective, some people will say at the end of the lesson, people should be able to know. No. People should not be able to know. Use verbs, doing words. You use doing words to state your specific objective. Such like they should be able to define, explain, narrate, discuss, identify, differentiate, illustrate, demonstrate. Those are doing words which can be measurable, and that's why we say it should be measurable. And again, you need to mention what number you want them to get. For example, children should be able to mention, let's say, the organizations in Nigeria. Children should be able to mention at least 3, 4, or 5 organizations. That's why it is specific. And by you giving them only 5 to mention, it means you have put them up to 10 or at least 8. So that from the rule of what you have taught them, the child, your specific objective now states that the child should be able to mention at least 5, meaning 5 out of the many you have taught them. And again, in numbering your specific objective, you use Roman figures. Roman figure 1, 2, 3. And no 2 domains should be put together. You cannot say a child should be able to define something and demonstrate that thing. No. You have brought 2 domains together. Defining is cognitive and demonstrating is psychomotor. So when you say specific objective 1, at the end, the student should be able to define, or say the student should be able to explain and draw the diagram. No, you have brought 2 objectives, 2 domains together, and it is not acceptable. Entry behavior. By entry behavior, we mean, how do you start this lesson? You enter a class and that class is dull. Maybe children were quarreling or making noise or eating, and all the attention is on what they had done before you came in. Or maybe you had scolded them previously, or maybe the principal is not happy with them, and you're entering the class to teach. How do you bring them out of themselves to teach? That is what we know by entry behavior. Check the entry behavior you have in your notes of lesson. Sometimes you use entry behavior, you confuse it with previous lesson. Entry behavior is for you to address the attention of the learners. That is why you are a teacher. Now use your ideas. How can you address their attention? Stimulate their imagination, arouse their interest, excite their enthusiasm, quicken their mental activities. That is what France, someone as far back as 1975, told us to do. And you see, it is very current. Now we have previous knowledge. This is another part of note of lesson that our teachers have problem. When we say previous knowledge, some people go to take what lesson they had the last day, maybe yesterday, or the last topic they had on agriculture. That is not what we mean by previous knowledge. Previous knowledge is that knowledge, irrespective of when it happened, that you know these children were taught, and that is related to the lesson you are about to have. That is previous knowledge. That knowledge that will be able to help them to learn what you want to teach them now better. That is previous knowledge. And therefore, previous knowledge may have been taught last term. It may not have been been taught in JS2 and the child is now in JS3. That is previous knowledge. Introduction of the lesson. We said you should introduce the lesson with the date. Again, people get confused here. Introduce the lesson with the date. Today's date, ask the children, what is today's date? And they are able to tell you, as they are telling you, you are writing it on the board. Tell them the topic. Today we are discussing this. As you are talking, you also write it on the board. Then go into the contents. The contents are arranged sequentially. You cannot say definition of something and then you are now going to something that is not related or something that shouldn't come up first. No. It is arranged sequentially also by using first of all cognitive, going into affective, and then psychomotor. That is how your content is arranged. It is arranged using the specific objective you had earlier stated. Some people say in their specific objective to identify number words whatsoever, to identify. And then when you come to content, you say step 2 to identify numbers. It's not like that. It will now become identification of numbers. You make it a statement. Teachers write down how they are to read the lesson. You are leading children to discover themselves. So you note how you are going to read the lesson. What will the learners do? Learners are to write how the teachers want them to go, and then they are to take part. Doctor had also said that this seminar is going to be participatory, and we all participate. That's teacher. That's teaching. So you read, and the children follow. What you ask them to do, you should note it on your lesson notes so that at a glance you will see what you want children to do. Doctor had already talked enough on instructional material. You cannot make a good lesson without instructional material. You just saw, instructional material, you can't just do it. You need content by content. Your evaluation must follow your specific objective. You cannot have specific objective 1 and at that stage you are measuring specific objective 2. You have not done anything. So when you have step 1, specific objective 1, that is in the content, then that evaluation, that class evaluation that time has to be on that content. The summary of lesson notes is summary of contents from step 1 to step whatever you have. Now, the next thing I have is just a format of what I have done here. I'll just draw up a chart. I wonder how many people will see this chart. See, this is my lesson notes. You do not need heavy notes as far as lesson is concerned. If you have read your book and you know what you want, you can stand in a class and give children 3 pages note of lesson as a note for them to write.
Of the chairman, let us give Sister another round of applause. We'll take a few questions. I personally wish we had time to listen to Sister go through the steps. We are tired, no doubt. But let's be realistic. Beginning from me, many of us here need the steps. Let's be realistic. we go back and continue what we've been doing. So I want to appeal, if it is possible, maybe the individuals, I'm going to do it for my school. Because I don't know, and I want to know. And many of my teachers don't know, not because they don't want to know, but they have not had the opportunity well enough. We need to know the steps. It's not enough to know your content, but the methodology of delivery is very important. So we thank Sister for what she has done, and as we get back home, let us prepare to meet them, the two facilitators again, maybe in a smaller group. For now, let's take a few questions that will maybe motivate our preparedness to meet them again. And once again, for two of them, for Dr. Oko and for Sister Lucille, please, one more time, a round of applause in appreciation. All those who have questions, let's know so that we can ask at once and then they will answer eventually. All questions, please raise up your hand and then take a number so that we. Whether you have a question for Dr. Oko, they will all ask, and at the end of it, the facilitators will. Please come to the microphone. Facilitators will answer. Please.
Governor, I am from Holy Family College. Sister, please, can you throw more light on the instructional materials? We want to know the difference between instructional materials, teaching aids, and reference materials. Thank you.
Please, my question goes to. My name is Ikot Ekpene. I'm from Holy Family College. Please, I want to ask a question about the lesson notes, the steps, specifically on the objective, because I think I was taught that if you say objective at the point where you're supposed to say instructional objective or behavioral objective or specific objective, that the objective, the state objective, that it's very vast because it's the educational objective that the child is supposed to achieve maybe at the end of 6 years. Now my question is it right for one to say specific objectives when one is trying to state the objectives in the lesson notes, or to say instructional objectives, or to say behavioral objectives instead of objective?
Thank you.
My name is Chicho from Notre Dame. Sister mentioned previous knowledge, and she referred to it as a process of measure or a yardstick of ascertaining the student's understanding of the previous lesson. But some students, in some places, we look at it as a process of. Some persons will look at it as a process of trying to relate or trying to see the student's understanding of the present topic. So I don't know which one is right. Relating or ascertaining the students or using it as a yardstick for ascertaining the student's understanding of the previous topic. And she even looked at it or she measured it in terms of interval, when 1 month interval, that the topic may be taught after 1 month, trying to see if the students still have the understanding of the topic. That's how she looked at it. Then I asked her if, because some other persons used to refer to it as a process of relating the students' understanding of the topic with what they had already been taught. Thank you.
I see away from Notre Dame Secondary School. I want to quickly talk on, this. No, when Doctor was talking on, when he was talking, he talked about innovation. This issue of lesson notes and lesson plan has been something that we are writing, submitting. When you go to some vice principal's office, you talk, or when you go to some schools, you see a bunch of notes. Then the mark notes, section after section, 10 after 10, people want to write notes. Want to write the steps, the tactical, following the normal pattern that they are supposed to. Now I want to ask, could it be possible, and Doctor, I know you are a professional in the field, because normally what we used to do, what all of us topic, the class, and so on and so past, and then he gives it over to us. We continue to do that. Next time again, we are giving the same subject to teach. We continue again. We write again, subject, this one so. Now, the question is this: can this be done in a different way? Can this be done in a different way actually? Can we do away with this writing? Yes, can we do away with this writing and actually have a lecture plan of our own? A lecture plan of our own that will be supervised by the profession as the representative in a particular field in that school. Because of the copy what they submitted to the Diocesan, and the Diocesan continue to ask for this and in this era of technology, we shouldn't even be doing things with this graduate again. Schools should provide laptops for each teacher in the school. They can use it and type our work. That is what is happening over there. Like what Dr. Rekli said. Like what Dr. Rekli said. You mentioned a child who said cannot do physics, cannot do mathematics, and then when they took him to a particular lab in I don't know the coach said, and then when he was there, they were attending to. I don't think the person attending to him actually wrote basic plan class as a it is good to plan, but the planning is inbuilt. The planning is inbuilt, and then you bring out something like education. The supervisor of planning supervise this, and it should be updated every now and then. That's my question. Could this be done in another way? Doctor, that's my question. Second question, sir. In this workshop, the second question goes to the DOC. Please, Prof, will there be a certificate for this workshop? This workshop is a very important workshop. Now, most of us attend workshops outside and then the kind of speaker that we have there, we are opportune. We are opportune. There are some conferences from sellers that we are taking, don't have calibers of people talking like this. I want to request or beg the Diocese, if not now, subsequently, let's organize workshop that will generate certificates, and that will even make the Diocese to grow. That will make there's a certificate for workshop like this. Even if you want to ask people, I know that you having a certificate for a workshop is a boost to your senior actually. It's a boost to you. So if maybe not now, maybe the Diocese is not prepared for that, but I believe there should be a certificate. And lastly, Doctor, please, your talk, please, just like since I was going to duplicate the work, please, I will request also that you help us maybe send the source copy to our principals, or you can help us duplicate the work of each of us. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sylvester Angara from Rotterdam. My question is, I want to ask Sister, what is the right way of stating the objective? Is it at the end of the lesson or by the end of the lesson? Some people say during and at the end. Which one is correct?
Good afternoon, Prof. My name is Tom Davids from St. Barnabas School. Please, my question is going to come at the end. Let me make a little justification from the theme of today. Fostering effective curriculum development and innovation. I have made a penetrating analysis of the curriculum that our schools adopted, including my school, especially on entrepreneurial subjects, trade subjects. And I discovered that there is no strict analysis
and evaluation of the contents which could reflect the present 21st century need. We are talking about innovation. And with my personal efforts and with the help of my boss, we've been able to streamline in our own way the Nigerian Education and Research Development Curriculum, which was developed far back 1996 or so. So we've been able to streamline to reflect the 21st century needs of our students. I want to please ask, is there any need of setting up a sort of curriculum review or drafting or analysis in-house, that is from the Diocesan Education Council perspective, that we could adopt so that it may cater for these innovations, full analysis of the trade and whatever that will match the 21st century, because school to top the list. Number one, the very first question that provoked me was, how can you say, or what are the best schools? And I was shocked. My school was mentioned. I knocked my head as I come and listen. I did not want to stand up and mention my school. But the reflection is a clear indication that we top that list. And I don't want to believe there will be a challenge for years. Why am I saying this? All that doctor is giving to us and all our resource person is giving to us here, we have a sort of an uncommon booster, which I don't want to say to stay and say. We have an uncommon booster. And all of us are like, if you don't key in, you are off. Permit me to say this. And all of us are keying in. If 50% of the teachers recruited by Ikot Ekpene Diocese are keying in and they are posted to St. Secondary School, Ikot, what will happen to other schools if and only if we don't have a standard template to interpret and implement all these steps that cut across other schools? I am asking, is there a need for that? Thank you.
Thank you. Number 9, stand by. This is 8 coming down.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Veronica from the Assistant Church. My person goes to the doctor. Doctor, please, how do I identify the need of my learning? Thank you.
Thank you. The last person to stand by is number 9 coming.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Ambassador from State American College, Correcting. My question goes to Dr. Cook. Doctor, during the time you mentioned the curriculum modification, you did not that are involved in curriculum innovation, and you did not tell us the stage that teachers are needed during the modification, and if the planners are modifying the curriculum, in what way does the parents are being involved? Thank you.
I would like to join every other person commending you for what you've done for us. Please just 2 questions. The first one is from the curriculum contents. And you told us that it's an embodiment of all attitudes of learners. Please, I also sort of leads to the disposition of the students towards what they are taught. Please, Doctor, what about the teachers? Is this not also necessary for you? That's number one. Then number two, when we talk about review of the curriculum, number two has to do with the review of the curriculum. I know that when things are privatized or individualized, there must be serious differences. Because the way I look at things may not be the same way some other person may consider or look at that thing. Please, can there be a way we will have a central form of either supervising the curriculum modified by these individual teachers, or probably developing it out for the entire education system in the diocese? Then question number 3. I would like to develop a little from the curriculum doctor, I know you're a specialist in the field. Please forgive me if I may take you so far. Thank you, Doctor. Please, Doctor, what are the positive and negative effects of our population in schools? Should we experience this in the diocese? What should we do? Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sunday Ikot. I'm from State and Business College, Ikot Ekpene. My question is, if at the end of the lesson, the specific objectives are not achieved, what should the teacher do?
Thank you very much. Before I call the facilitators to answer, now that I have the privilege of holding the microphone, let me ask my own. Not really the question. I want to thank God for what we have and the people we have. When Sister was talking, I just felt Holy Child has truly been blessed. And if we can listen to our own, we will really excel. If we can listen to what I mean by different schools, I have my own strength, my weakness, Father Baruch has, Sister Etienne has, every other principal has. We have our strength and weaknesses. If we can build on our strength and our staff members work with us and we move along, and where we think we are weak, like I'm talking about the note of lesson now, you may be very strong in that, but I think I personally have some challenges and some of my teachers have challenges. If we can build on our strength and work on our challenges and weaknesses, we will go further than this. So that's the first suggestion I'm making. Please, let's appreciate our own and work with them for a better future. The second suggestion is to the facilitators is not only that we need the soft copy, as I'm sure you give us, but we need them immediately, or we'll be urgency, please. And if it is possible today, I was expecting Dr. I'm sure maybe you do it, and especially sister, give us some take-home assignment. Because, for example, if we have to go back today without doing something, we may not feed back the diocese adequately. For example, identifying the learner's need. I'm very confident that the diocese with the prof will try to work on the curriculum. But you need to work on a curriculum that will address the needs of the different schools. So if we can have some assignment and just suggesting an example to be, let's go back and think out and work with our students and find out the learner's needs from our own background and feed the diocese back. It will help us. So finally, I want to appeal to both of them that whenever, as surely, we will surely call you, whenever we call you to come and talk to us again in different schools, in our different schools, I'm sure you will oblige. Thank you very much. Another round of applause for the facilitators. So let's
okay, thank you very much. I think about 18 people participated in the questioning session from my records. And some of the questions, I think we will associate them. Some goes to sister, some will come to me. But let me see how I identify
take-home assignment. Let me start from there. I want to give one now. What elements of our present curriculum do you think requires modification and why? You can simply outline them. They are all. Then question 4 from somebody from Selamari, question. What do you do if the specific objectives are not achieved? It's very straightforward. You set out to achieve certain things you can achieve. You carry forward. That's all. You carry forward. You push them. That is why even what they call baseline knowledge. So many people say something about that entry behavior, this and that baseline. If you are entered a class and you are to teach a particular topic, and you just come up with a related topic that will have helped them to understand the one you went to teach, then you don't need to introduce that topic. And that is why there are so many learning theories now. There's what we call constructivist learning theories. Constructivist learning and teaching theories. The constructivist has no prepared agenda. It's just, he could have, but he has an open mind. You go to a class, you want to teach a particular topic, you realize that there is nothing to anchor the new knowledge. You have to suspend it, then see what you can do so that the new knowledge can anchor in their mental structure. That is constructivity. Okay. In further, talk about the inspiration of teachers and the inspiration of the learners in terms of attitude and curriculum content. Well, when we are talking about attitude, it's not just learners, the teachers. The teacher is a serious influencer of so many people. You will be a model to the students. Your attitude is being observed by the learners, and the learners will want to be like you. So it's not only the attitude of the learners that you try to look at, the attitude of the teachers, and that is what the school administrators should do. Some teachers are not in school with good disposition in terms of attitude, and definitely they are going to influence some students because the learners see the teachers as role models. So if you do anything on the negative, they will also invite you. So the issue of attitude concerning both the teachers and the learners is not limited to the learner. Then you talk about overpopulation of learners in the class, the effect, positive and negative. Well, I don't think it has any positive effect. It should be negative altogether. Because if the class size is overpopulated, you won't understand the learners. You won't know their needs. You should be able to know the learners on one-on-one and can talk about them. Even when the learner leaves the school, so many years, if you follow the law, if you run into the learner, you should be able to remember this my student was very good. Is that I have a student I taught in the secondary school when I was at that door. She's a medical doctor and a consultant. Each time I see that, I remember her attitude, I remember everything in the class as of then. And it still comes to bear in my mind up till now. So it's very important. Overpopulation is not good. You won't give the learners their best. The parents are there, government are there, church leaders, there are stakeholders, all the stakeholders in the educational business, they can be involved in curriculum modification. What are we observing what are we observing in the society that are not good? Everybody can come to a round table. And of course, once in a while, people should go for curriculum review. They call it curriculum review. The curriculum must be reviewed to meet the present time. That's fear of the coronavirus. Talk about as a question for the curriculum and entrepreneurial subjects that will enhance meeting the 21st century needs and talk about curriculum review, whether it will be an in-house thing or the Diocesan community issue. I will still link up to the last answer I generated. That curriculum reviews educational, maybe after 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. Even in YA, they review their curriculum. They have to review. So, I think I can leave the rest of the questions to Sister so that I don't start everything away from her.
Instructional material, teaching aid, and reference materials. Before now, instructional schools or educationists were using teaching aids. And the teaching aids, for instance, included the chalkboard. But today, things change. And we no longer use teaching aids. We now use instructional materials. And when we say instructional materials, we are not talking about the chalkboard, for example. We are talking about real objects, for example. You are teaching soil, and you are using sandy soil to show children. Or you are using some videos to show the different types of soil. That you all gone to school. Are the books you read, you, the teacher, read to make up that lesson? So you show us, you write out those books you read to make up that lesson. States of objective, is it objective or specific objective? It is not behavioral or objective, it is specific. Now, educationists use specific. Previous knowledge, I think I was misunderstood somewhere. Previous knowledge, I said, is anything that you have taught. It's just a 2-minute something. It will not even take you 2 minutes to recall previous knowledge. It's just for you to bring what you want to teach to bear, so that the child can think of. Okay, for example, what I have given out, I said we are learning, what we are going to learn is on soil. And we have learned some planting some time ago. Where did we plant? We planted on the soil. So I can link the planting I did in whichever lesson to the soil I'm going to learn today, so that the children will understand what I want to teach now. It's a matter of 1 minute thing. And I have this one, stating the objective. It is stated, Doctor, please, if I am wrong here, you correct me. Things change every day. At the end of the lesson, the students or pupils should be able to, 1. That is what I was taught. Doctor, thank you. So it is at the end of the lesson, either the student or pupils should be able to, you itemize it. 1, child developing thick skin and becoming stubborn at will, the child has a problem. You see a child who is very intelligent and is asking a question at every step you take. It is a special child. So all these people, we call them special children with special needs. So that one that is very intelligent and is holding on anything you say and asking you questions is a special child. So you treat that child above all other children. The one that is always afraid, sometimes you go to the class, the child is crying. Maybe the child has some psychological problem from home. Now, we also use assessment, the child's assessment, to identify the need of that child. You use...
There could be innovation. There's nothing you cannot inject some picture of innovations in rewriting. Because you cannot use the same instructional material to deliver a lesson all the time, year in, year out. You can vary. You can alter certain things. This year you can use this method, you use this strategy. But apart from that, I think there is something is trying to, since we are in a digital economy, they now say maybe somebody can do something online or so. We use the laptop to write and send. Well, we are in a paperless economy now. In many places, in fact, people don't go with so many papers. You don't go with your laptop or tab. But the truth is, whatever you write, you have to forward it to your supervisor or the head teacher in that field to look at it. Because a note of lesson is like a roadmap, a guide, step-by-step procedure. What will the teacher be doing? What will the learners be doing? How will that instructional this thing be assessed? You understand? How will that instruction be assessed? The lesson is instruction. How is it going to? You have to tabulate it. You have to fit it. Because we have to show innovations. We can't be using one approach to do things for the past 200 years. You can't be. But eventually it will be printed out anyway. It should be corrected and printed out. I don't know whether that question is sufficiently answered. Okay. Then identifying needs of learners. Sister has taken time to talk about that one. If you are not close to somebody, you won't know that person. That is just the truth. If you are close to your learner, if the class size is small, you are close to the learner, you interact with the learner, there are so many things you know about the learner. You know his interests, you know his attitude, you know his emotion. There is what they call emotional intelligence. And simply because you know his emotion, you know how to deal with it when they have issues. There are children or students or learners that come into school with problems that are homeless. Sometimes their parents are divorced. This one says, go to your mother. This one says, go to your father. This one says, let your mother give you your school needs. This one, and at the end of it all, the child is somewhere. He has nothing. So it's going to affect. There are some of them that come to school, they don't eat. And they mix up with the, and the learner or you will send some messages to you. They will send messages to you. And if you are smart, you will get the message and talk to the learner. Look, what is it? Looks like you are not eating today. Yes, sir. So why not? Why was not? This is coming from. No, sir. You see, through some interaction, you know the learner closely. And if the learner, if you cause the learner to appreciate you, the learner will open up and tell you more about himself or herself. And you know, you now have the enthusiasm of the learner. Thank you very much.
With due respect to the chairman and all of us here, I would like to sincerely thank God Almighty for a day like this. The child of circumstance. It was really thought out by those who organized it. And all of us unanimously accepted. Today we have seen our living names. It was good that we
this workshop. I want to, on behalf of the chairman of the DEC, the members of the DEC, the heads of school, and in fact the proprietor, thank the facilitators, Dr. Ikot, Mrs. Kalosky, for the good job they have done. We have come, we learned everything we have to do today, and came down here to learn from you. We have learned the things that are not good, and we have learned the things that we knew what we had forgotten. We are going back fully armored to prepare for our lessons. It's going to change as we have learned so much today, and our students will become better beneficiaries of this workshop. So, Doctor and Sister, we want to say thank you to you for taking your time to prepare, and we promise to put into use all that we have learned today. I hope I am speaking the minds of all of us today. That sometime in the future, we will have another forum like this, where the two of you will evaluate how much impact are taking place in our different schools, and so that there will be greater growth in the diocese as far as our educational sector is concerned. Thank you very much, and God bless.
I'm very grateful. I've been in this office for 3 months here. I don't even know what is happening in the office. I'm learning the rules from the principal. I shouldn't be the way. But I want to assure you that with the principal, we shall not have a education policy of around your family. And I want to assure all of us here that we have the details of attendance for all those who attend. So please, the attendance register, you correct it before you leave. We'll bring the certificate by check, 1 or 2 more, but you have it. And I assure you of that. I like to just put this back to the principal. So you don't think about it. When I was studying, whole seminary, as a student, it was also for us when we were going for sports. So now, as them there, and concluded. If you want to do assignments, whatever assignment we are doing, we go there right, and it's always transmitted back to your institution. Principal, is it possible in our current schools? We don't go on strike. I don't know whether you go on strike. We don't go on strike. I'm not saying that we start tomorrow. So think back the next 1 or 2 years. Can we start our lectures the same day and teach? My father will look at the subject matters and teach about the same things in our school. There are a few minor developments afterwards, but the major topics, can we take it the same day we are talking about the American? Now, this is one back like a sister, 18th dimension, we come back to evaluate what we have done today. That is critical. Thank you very much. And I think there will be a communicate after this. The principal will generate that, so that we have something to return to the bishop at the time of report, and what we expect the bishop to inject into the educational life of our diocese. Thank you very much.
The Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, with life that encourage, despite our prayers and blessings,
God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, thank you for the gift of this beautiful day. Thank you for the gift of our vision, big gifts of our diocese. We thank God and thank you for the prize that the facilitators have given to us today to instruct and lead us right. And we pray that your Holy Spirit will help us to internalize all we have instructed us for the betterment of our nation, for the betterment of the church, and to the resurrection then. May the Almighty God bless and lead you safely home. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.